talking about these basic risk factors, it's very simple, a matter of kinetic energy. Go back to your physics classes, and you know that we are talking about mass and speed. And we talk about the human vulnerability in an impact. And these are the factors we try to influence when we address these basic risk factors. So on the one hand, it's a matter of physics. On the other hand, it's a matter of behavior, human behavior, psychology of that behavior. It's the interaction between the individual road user and its environment. And on the other hand, it's the interaction between individual road users, the response to each other. So these are the key elements when we talk about road safety. Sometimes I'm reading a book, and this is a very interesting book. It has nothing to do with road safety. The interesting thing here is that these authors are talking about decision making for you and me in all sorts of decisions. Which university to pick, which health insurance to pick, which house to buy, very complicated decisions. And we as individuals need some sort of guidance. Every website in the world has a navigation system to guide people to the right place, to the right page, to the right decision. So help him. They call that libertarian paternalism. I don't know whether you like it. I like the word. I like the word. Because that's basically what we try to do when we design a safer road system. We try to guide the road user to safer behavior, to help him. He, at the end of the day, he is responsible for his behavior. So we are not going to take that away from him. But we try to create conditions that safe behavior is the normal, the default value, instead of without that. And as American writers always do, they summarize it, you know that, make it simple. But it's my understanding that this way of thinking fits very well in how I believe the future of our road transport system should develop. It's not a command and control situation. We cannot afford ourselves that. But on the other hand, it's not a laissez-faire situation. In between, we have to find our way of how to design the new system. And this is the second piece of homework I have in mind. I would like to see that somebody from here, from South Australia, pick this book, read it, and try to transfer these ideas to the implementation in South Australia. Having said that, I have no silver bullet. I have not the answer to everything. I apologize for that. Coming from far away and being a top expert, whatever you call that, but I have not a silver bullet here. It's a complicated task to improve ourselves, but nevertheless, we did our way. We did our way, and we had developed our vision. And here, I'm not going to explain it fully to you, a few elements only. But we had a vision. We were able to convince halls like this to implement this vision, and we did it over the last decade or so. So we did a lot of work to get this implemented, and that's one of the warnings I have for those who would like to improve road safety. It's not an easy task at all. If I ask you what is the main cause of a crash, and if I ask you what is the best solution, I will receive hundreds different answers. And nevertheless, at the end of the day, you have to work together to come to a solution. So the first thing we have to do is to see whether we can converge thoughts on why we have a problem and how to improve the situation. And that's a very important process, so to say, in the whole drafting of a new strategy. So that's why I try to pay some attention to that specific aspect. We did it. And it's very rewarding if you see that type of development. As Gabriel said, this was not only the result in the Netherlands. We were happy to see that this way of thinking also entered these international reports. On the left-hand side, you have the groundbreaking report, in my opinion, on road safety from OECD, Organization of Economical Cooperation and Development in Paris. And on the right-hand side, you have such a report coming from the World Health Organization in the United Nations. And both reports supported this way of thinking, although the implementation in practical life will be different in different states or countries. With a complicated word, I call this a paradigm shift. The way of thinking as we, as a road safety community, together with our communities, we have to go to a paradigm shift. And here we have indicated why. It's inherently dangerous. We are very much dependent on the individual behavior of drivers, and we have to understand that they make errors and violations, and they will make errors in the future. That's why we need to change our direction of thinking. We use the word sustainable, and we were advised to do that by politicians, but you can call it what you like. Safe system approach is okay. So we would like to give an environment to the human being where he commits fewer errors, and of course we have to deal with violations and unsafe human behavior. I come up with the way James Reason from the United Kingdom approached this. And he's a professor in human behavior, psychology, and he's not a specialist in road safety, he's a specialist in other systems. And he tries to understand why errors are made and why crashes are occurring. I'm not going to present this in detail, but just give you the basic ideas behind this. The system is built of different components. The system itself, the quality we try to add to that, the precursors of human behavior, the actual human behavior on the road, and the defense mechanism a human being has just before a crash. All these screens have holes in it, and all these holes are latent errors. At the same time, we have to understand that there are some dangerous actions. And only if you have a coincidence of these holes, at the end of the day you will have a crash. The idea now is that you prevent holes in the first couple of screens and make yourself, by doing that, less dependent on the human behaviors and the human errors he's going to make. That's the idea, the fundamental idea behind this whole process. That means that we are not just blaming the driver, try to intervene as early as possible in the system design of our road transport, try to fill in these holes at the first few screens at the left-hand side, and that means that we're not answering the question who or what caused this, but try to understand the problem. How was it possible that such a crash occurred on such a, so to say, perfectly safe road? In other words, making road safety less dependent on choices of individual users, helping the user making safe decisions.